Good evening. My name is Pam Schultz, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, Jackson area. I welcome you to this online forum co-sponsored by the Jackson area and Washtenaw County chapters of the League of Women Voters, featuring candidates for Michigan Senate District 14. The candidates will be on the ballot for the primary election on Tuesday, August 2nd. For more than 100 years, the League of Women Voters has worked to expand voter rights, educate voters, and shape and influence legislation at local, state, and national levels. We are pleased to sponsor these forums. The League is a nonpartisan civic organization that encourages informed and active participation by all citizens in government. The League works to increase understanding of major public policy issues and seeks to strengthen and broaden knowledge about our form of government and democracy. While the League does not support candidates or parties, we do take stands on issues we have studied. One of the League's most important goals is to assist voters in making informed choices at the polls, and thus we bring you this forum. Our moderator this evening is Maggie Bayless, who will explain the format and get us started.
Thank you, Ms. Schultz. And now it's my honor to introduce two of the candidates running for Michigan Senate District 14. Kelsey Heckwood and Sue Shink. Three candidates are running in the Democratic primary for Michigan Senate District 14. The third candidate, Val Cochran-Toops, was invited to participate in this forum, but did not respond. Thank you, Ms. Heckwood and Ms. Shink, for participating tonight. The forum will follow this format. Each candidate will have an opening statement of up to 1 minute. Each candidate will then have a closing statement of up to 90 seconds. In between, I will ask questions which came from the community. Each question will be read once and not repeated unless requested. Candidates, you will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. At appropriate times, the timer will raise a sign on her screen indicating the time remaining, either 30 seconds or stop. If you've used up your time, you will be allowed to finish your sentence, and then your microphone will be muted so the other candidate has an equal opportunity to participate. The candidates will begin speaking in alphabetical order by last name. Both candidates will have an opportunity to be the first or second to answer the questions. We're now ready for opening statements. Ms. Heckwood, we'll start with you.
Thank you, and thank you for hosting us tonight. I'm really happy to be here. I have lived in Jackson for about 7 years now. I moved from northern Lower Michigan, where I was born and raised. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college at Central Michigan University and came to Jackson. Got very involved locally in city politics here, and I'm really excited that there is an opportunity for growth at the state level for our little town of Jackson. I've worked extensively on issues of democracy and voter protection in my time as data director at America Votes, and helped to support organizations like Voters Not Politicians and Promote the Vote in some of the petition drives that those organizations have taken to expand democracy. And I would be a fighter for democracy and civil rights in the state legislature. Thanks.
Ms. Shink, may we have your opening statement?
Hi, thank you so much for hosting this. My name is Sue Shink. I currently chair the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners and serve District 2, which is in northern Washtenaw County. And I am running for state senate to build bridges and bring my years of experience to serve the residents of District 14. I'm proud to have raised my 3 daughters in this community and built my life here. For the last 2 decades, I've served the people of our area as an advocate, a township trustee, and county commissioner. And for the last 1.5 years, I've served as chair of the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners. I know firsthand the doors of opportunity that investment in our people open. I worked really hard during the pandemic to save lives. We had to listen to the community. We listened and we delivered results. we were able to keep all of our employees employed during the pandemic. We were able to support families with food and supplies. We were also able to increase our public engagement and deliver innovative programs, which I'll talk more about later.
Thank you, Ms. Shink. Now that we've completed the opening statements, we'll move to questions. As a reminder, I'll read each question once and it will not be repeated unless requested. We'll start with you, Ms. Shink, for the first question. As a result of the 2022 redistricting, it's possible that there may be a shift in the composition of the Michigan legislature. On what two significant issues do you think the legislature could reach a new consensus?
I believe that the legislature could, if the elected officials who were so inclined, which right now the majority in the legislature is not inclined to work on, we could have more agreement and working together around environment and roads. I think everybody in Michigan agrees that the roads are very difficult to drive on. It doesn't matter what party you adhere to know that there are many potholes and cracks and bumps in our roads, and that we have crumbling bridges. We're way behind on our investment in infrastructure. And so there's that. And then around the environment, I believe that most Michiganders, and this has been true with people I've talked to, they love the beauty and the nature that we have in our state. They love the lakes, they love the beaches, the forests, the rivers. And so many people agree that we need to protect them and care for them. But what's happening right now isn't really working toward that. And that is one of the reasons that I'm running, just to build, not just to build bridges, but also to make strong leadership, because we need to work on a lot more than these two items. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question for you, Ms. Heckwood.
Yeah, I think that we have an opportunity with the new maps to really have a different conversation around our politics in Michigan, particularly as we think about having majorities for Democrats, but not just that, having closer races and having more competitive communities. I think two big things we can work on include environmental issues around a transition to green energy, so electric vehicles, solar, wind energy. I think there are a lot of compromises that we could come to there. And I think also around education. We know that the last couple of years have been really hard on teachers and students and families. And we've seen that some school buildings are just not up to standards, and we could do some really big infrastructure and capital improvement investment around school buildings. And we need to attract and retain good teachers. And to do that, I think everybody agrees that we have to pay teachers better. And so I think those two issues, education and the environment, are things where we could definitely find some consensus in Lansing.
Thank you. And Ms. Heckwood, we'll start with you for this next question. Do you think Michigan currently conducts free and fair elections? If not, what steps are needed to ensure free and fair elections in our state?
Yes, I think we absolutely do conduct free and fair elections in Michigan. I think Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson has been steadfast in this. I think our local clerks, a lot of whom are elected officials, live in their communities and care deeply about service to their communities, and would not do this sort of widespread system fraud that, frankly, many Republicans are alleging happened. Also, they're alleging that some of the same people who were elected to serve in office are alleging that their own election was fraudulent, which I find interesting as well. And so I think we just have to fight back against this and just have to say, that's absolutely not true. That's not what's happening. And all you have to do is sort of like, you know, put your thinking cap on and really sort of see that that isn't the reality. And then we need to re-elect Jocelyn Benson, so that we have someone in office who is going to uphold the law and then promote the vote, their new ballot initiative this cycle in 2022 to enshrine a lot of these rights into the Constitution.
Thank you. Ms. Shink, same question for you.
Yes, I absolutely believe that we have free and fair elections in this state. We saw that the results of our last election have been upheld, and there has been no finding of fraud. So those allegations are really just that, to take our attention away from other issues that are very important, and to cast doubt on one of the most sacred acts that we as Americans undertake. I'm very concerned about some of the election, some of the laws that are being passed or being tried to be passed in other states that would chip away at our free and fair elections. And I will fight that. I will support our Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, and her work to support our elections. I know that she has asked for some more financing for election work, and our legislature has declined to pass that financing. So even without that, I still believe deeply in our elections. What I have seen in my time has been nothing but the best, and that's what I expect Michigan to have continuing forward. I do think that it's very important that we take our responsibility to support the elections as legislators, and then also to promote the vote, because that's another way to make sure that our elections stay free and fair.
Thank you. So Ms. Shink, you will have the first take at the next question. Please explain your stand on gun safety laws in the state of Michigan. What achievable steps would you take to address community concerns related to Michigan gun safety and gun violence?
Thank you. It is my deep belief that it is consistent with the Second Amendment that every person in our country should be able to go about their business free from the fear of gun violence. And for too many people in our country, that is no longer true. For example, my daughter left school early shortly after the Oxford shooting because it was believed that there was a gun person in their school. And although the schools have a plan, it was still chaos. Luckily, there was no actual shooter there, but it's not okay. And then as chair of the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners, I have begun to wear bulletproof vests due to security concerns. In my time in talking with people across the district, Republicans and Democrats, what I hear is that voters also support these things. They support the right of a person to go about their business without being afraid for their lives. They support red flag laws, safe storage laws, background checks, and some limits on automatic and semi-automatic weapons that are really only meant to kill. So I think that those things are very achievable, and we need to work hard to make sure that that happens.
Thank you. Same question for you, Ms. Heckwood.
Yeah, I grew up around guns. My family are all conservative Republicans in northern Michigan, and I, shot deer and took hunter safety and did all of that. But it was important in our house that guns were treated with respect and understood that they were not toys, but they were weapons that were meant to kill something. And part of that included, cleaning and storing things properly, training. And I think those are things that we can get through even a divided legislature. And that's really important. I think it's also important to acknowledge that while mass shootings are horrific and a uniquely American problem, most gun violence happens routinely every day in people's homes. It is, people who are taking their own life. It is, children who find unsecured weapons. And there's a lot that we can do around safe storage and training and some, responsibility for that too. And I think talking about responsible gun ownership and not gun control is a good framing to really get the same sort of gun control measures that we think would keep people safe. I think also something that I did on city council that was really impactful is money for violence interruption, which addresses root causes of violence like poverty and education, and helps to sort of get at the problem where it's starting.
Thank you. And now back to you for the next question. Please identify the top 3 concerns residents in Senate District 14 have expressed to you, and describe the steps you would take to address one of these issues if elected.
I think the top 3 issues are probably roads, education, and then I mean, like recency bias is gonna give us either probably gun violence or choice for that 3rd issue. I think education and infrastructure are the topics I'll focus on here. I think when we're considering education, something that's really important is the built infrastructure that students and teachers are in every day. I know a lot of school buildings are old. In Jackson, there's only been 1 new school building constructed since 1950, and it was just opened last year. The high school was built in the 1890s. It's beautiful, it's picturesque, it doesn't have air conditioning. And when we're thinking about state-of-the-art schools and the best education, which we all want our students to have, something as simple as an HVAC system or knowing that they can drink the water coming out of the water fountains, those are things I think that we really need to be able to guarantee to students and to teachers if we want to be able to attract and retain the best teachers for our students as well. So I would say that capital improvement projects for our built education infrastructure is something that I would really focus on tackling as a state senator.
Thank you. And Ms. Shink, your answer to the same question, please.
Thank you. So the top 3 issues that I'm hearing are discrimination against people who are not straight white people, and climate change and the dangers that presents, and then reproductive rights. And so I will talk about discrimination. There are several bills in the legislature right now that are aimed at discriminating against transgender children. And so people are very concerned about that, whether they have transgender children or they're transgender themselves. And so what I would do is to work to have legislation passed that makes explicit in the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act that discrimination based on gender identity or gender orientation is, or sexual identity or sexual orientation is also illegal, along with the other protected classes. In terms of climate action, I would support the governor's plan that was developed through the Council on Climate Solutions. I participated in the work groups, and people from across the state shared their expertise, and the governor has a good plan to have carbon neutrality by 2050, which I don't actually think is fast enough, but it's better than where we're headed right now. But without a legislature to support her and without leadership in that legislature, I don't think it can happen. I am responsible for really getting our climate action planning going. And so I believe that in the legislature, I can also provide a similar leadership bring people together, find solutions that we can use to move our state forward for a just transition to renewable renewable energy, and also carbon sequestering technologies that our farmers can participate in. And thank you.
Thank you.
And now it's time, we're down to the final 10 minutes of the forum, so it's time for the last question.
All right. Thank you, Catherine. And Ms. Shink, we'll start with you on this. Please describe a specific example of how you made a difficult decision because of a core value that you hold.
Thank you. We received $75 million at Washtenaw County through the American Rescue Plan funding. And in the beginning, there was some discussion about how that money could be used. And there was a fair bit of pressure to use that money to shore up county operations, to clean up our tech system, which is getting a little old and creaky, or potentially dealing with some cost issues that we've been dealing with. And because I believe that government should be transformative, I made the difficult decision. Well, it wasn't really that difficult for me, but the work involved was difficult, to actually plan out using that money in a transformative way. And so we engaged in a very different kind of public engagement process than had been traditional. We went out, we had Zoom meetings across the districts. We also went into churches and schools and held meetings at different times of the day to make sure that we could get people who wouldn't necessarily normally come to a county meeting to come and tell us what they wanted. And so we were able to come up with plans to provide broadband across the entire county. It hasn't been built out yet, but it will be within a few years. Start children's savings accounts that will help children who never had a hope of going to college or trade school to get there. To start a financial empowerment center so that families can get out of debt and actually have some money provided to them. To put a new focus on equity in our health department through community health workers, to start a mobile services unit to go out into the community to take social services to the people. And we're still working on allocating the rest of it, but we are definitely making, the $8 million community priority fund, so that people in 48197, 48198 can build capacity in themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Heckwood, same question.
Sure. I grew up in a house trailer. It was heated with a wood burning stove that was in the living room. And my little sister and I were sick all the time every winter. We had croup, we had bronchitis, we had pneumonia all the time. When I was on city council, there was a polar vortex. And there were a number of people who called the city to complain because their landlords were unreachable and they were heating their homes with space heaters or their ovens. And in doing so, the city had to send out its inspection unit to that home and vacate those homes because they weren't safe for people to stay in. So someone had a problem, couldn't fix it through the normal channels, reached out to their local government, and then their local government kicked them out of their house because that was what they had to do. So city officials were scrambling, paying for people's housing, short-term housing with their own personal credit cards. And I was furious. I believe that everyone deserves a place to stay that is safe and that is dignified. And so I wrote and passed through a very difficult city council on a 4-3 vote, an ordinance called the Displaced Tenants Ordinance. And it says that if you are current on your rent, but you are kicked out of your house through no fault of your own, your landlord has to pay for the fix. They have to pay to house you while the fix is taking place. And then you get to decide, you get right of first return to your home. And so that is the type of problem solving that is really important to me, is that you do the right thing no matter who's going to get mad at you because it's the right thing to do.
Thank you. So now it's time for closing statements from each of the candidates. Remember, you will have 90 seconds for this. And Ms. Heckwood, we'll start with you.
I want to say thank you to you all again for hosting, and for those watching the recording later, hopefully you can't tell, but we had a little bit of a technical difficulty, so we worked through it very well, I think. I'm really excited about this opportunity. Jackson hasn't had a Democratic state senator since the 1890s. It's been 130 years since a Democrat from Jackson has represented this community. I would be absolutely honored to be that person. I would also be the first woman that Jackson has ever sent to the state Senate, and I would be Michigan's first openly bisexual state senator. A lot of history is possible here, and I'm ready to work my butt off to make it happen. I would love to have the support. I know you don't endorse, but I would love to have the support of the constituents of this district to make that happen, because the constituents are the most important part. The campaign is a fraction of the job. The campaign just gets you to the job. The real job is serving the people of the 14th district. So I will leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Ms. Shink, your closing statement, please.
Thank you. Again, thank you for having us tonight. I appreciate the opportunity. I've lived in this community for over 20 years, and I've been an advocate with and for my neighbors during that time. My experience has grown over the years. I started out as a township trustee in Northfield Township, working on a bipartisan board with Republicans and Democrats, and we made real changes here that saved us money and improved the quality of life. I served on the Agricultural Land Preservation Advisory Committee for many years until the time came when the seat opened up to run for county commissioner. Little could I have known that that was going to be right before the pandemic struck. So we were working on good policies before the pandemic struck, and I got busy saving lives. I made sure that the people of Washtenaw County had what they needed to weather the pandemic. And obviously it was a very big pandemic. It was bigger than any of us. But we worked hard, we fought hard to get testing and then vaccinations and make sure they got to our most vulnerable residents. I've worked hard to pass policies that are transformative for the people of this community. As I mentioned before, broadband, more money for education, childcare for working parents when the school stopped providing childcare, financial empowerment for people who are struggling to make ends meet. We also passed responsible contractor policies so that the companies that do the work to build this community are paid fairly, can keep their workers safe. I've been working very hard.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Shink. Thank you, Ms. Heckwood. Both of you, thanks for participating in this valuable session. Catherine Muro from the League of Women Voters, Washtenaw County, will now provide some closing comments.
Yes, thank you. The League thanks the candidates for participating in tonight's forum and those who contributed questions. All our candidate forums are available for streaming on your computer or smartphone. Go to our website, lwvwashtenaw.org, and look for the link to the programs. In addition, the forums can be viewed on Ann Arbor's cable television news channel 13. Please urge your friends and fellow residents to watch these forums and share the links with them. For additional nonpartisan information on candidates and ballot issues, go to vote411.org, the League's voter resource guide covering local, state, and federal candidates and current proposals that will appear on your ballot. As a reminder, all voters are now eligible to cast an absentee ballot. In addition, while voters are encouraged to register ahead of time, Michigan law now provides for Election Day registration. So just remember, whether by absentee ballot or in-person voting, make sure you vote in the August 2nd primary election. Thank you.